And you're live for another Best Ball Mania 7 draft with me and only me, Zain Dhanani. What's up, everybody? I'm going to do a Best Ball Mania draft right now. This is my 24th Best Ball Mania draft so far. I did max out the big board. Um, just trying to get some player value. It looks like the draft just loaded, so I'm ready to go. I've got the tool that I built. This is not a bot thing. I built it myself here on the right. So I'm in a pretty good spot, ready to go, and excited to draft here. It looks like I've got the third spot, so you can see my exposures on the screen. But I've got Jahmyr Gibbs at 17%. I have Bijan Robinson at 9%. If either of those guys fall, I'm going to take them, and then I'm letting the board come to me. So there's Jamar Chase, Puka Nakua. I will take Jamar Chase. I have 4% of him right now. That's just a matter of like which draft slot I had. Um, so now I'm going to look at my tool here on the right and see what I've had with Jamar Chase so far, because I think I've probably had him in a few one draft. Jamar. And it looks like I took in the next round Rashee Rice with him. So I'm going to try to avoid doing something like that, which is great. So now I'm in a spot where, if I look at kind of what the board is going to give me, I might be in a spot where I ended up with Drake London, Brock Bowers, Nico Collins, George Pickens, and that'll give me a unique combination. And I talk about this a lot on my drafts. But in the first few rounds, what you want is a unique combination. You definitely don't want to go into it in a situation where you need to have the exact same guys, because the guys in these elite ranges at the beginning of the draft, these are elite players. And what you want out of that is you want a guy that you want some diversification out of that situation, because it protects you in future rounds. You may end up getting a lot of one guy, like in a draft slot, like let's say I've got a lot of Jamar Chase. Well, then in the next situation, when I get Jamar Chase, it's great. Maybe he advances me, but I need to be a little bit more unique in all of my combinations. And maybe all of my Jamar Chase teams get me to week 15. But then in week 15, all the Jamar Chase teams have, I don't know, Rashee Rice. And then he doesn't do well. But I've got a couple that have George Pickens, and I've got some that have Drake London and Brock Bowers. And then those teams just trickle in and make it in the situation. So that's kind of the way that I'm thinking through my strategies as I keep continually do this. And those who are watching, if you want to ask questions in the chat, more than happy to answer any questions that come up as I go through this draft. But for now, it looks like it's coming to me. I've got, I'm 4 picks away. It looks like Achane, Derrick Henry. I've taken a lot of Derrick Henry so far. He obviously has a week 17 bring back. You can see the signal here. With Jamar Chase, look at that hover. You can see opposing Jamar Chase, Cincinnati, from your roster. This is all vibe coded by me. The proprietary models in the background are things that I did too, but those are things that I built. That can't be vibe coded. It's not these are all math models. It looks like Drake London is going to be my pick. If he gets taken, might pivot off and take a Brock Bowers situation. I'm not hot on taking a tight end this early. I will be honest with you, but in this situation, I feel like I am okay with taking Brock Bowers. He's the only, like, to me, he's an exception to the rule right now, right? Because there's so much potential that Brock Bowers may end up in a spot where we just see him go absolutely nuclear. We saw what JSN did in this Clint Kubiak offense. I expect them to do a lot of play action, a lot of motion, things that are going to help Brock Bowers get open. And he is a one-of-one type of player. So I'm excited about him and the prospects of what he could be. It looks like I'm going to start without running back. So this is going to be a 0 running back team, which is totally fine by me. I don't like to lean into any specific strategy. That's just not who I am. I do whatever the board tells me to do. And it looks like the way that the board is setting up is for me to take receivers and Brock Bowers, which is totally fine. Thank you, RT, for your comment. I appreciate that. I've been putting in a lot of work tracking all the news and notes. We had an Alvin Kamara thing that just popped up earlier today, roughly about 30, 45 minutes ago, that he is going to stay with the New Orleans Saints, which is huge because I think that it ends up cutting into Travis Etienne's pass down role. And I think that what that means is that you're going to see Etienne fall over the next week or so. Whatever happens, whenever news breaks and there's like this shock to the system, I recommend waiting about a week to see where that ADP ends up. Unless it's like way further than you would like to see. So like if he dropped to the 5th round today, I would take Travis Etienne. If he dropped to the 4th round in my spot, I would probably still take him, but like mid 4th is probably where I see him ended up falling. And I wouldn't necessarily take that just yet because I think that I want to see the market correct and react and see where things end up. It's a price that I'll end up getting anyway at some point. But yeah, I feel comfortable with Travis Etienne in probably mid to late round 4 at the moment. That's where I see him kind of ending up. Okay, so I've got Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Brock Bowers, some players that honestly I don't have that much of so far. I think this might have been my first Devonta Smith situation, my second Jamar Chase team, my second Brock Bowers team. So it's a very unique team for me. Typically not sitting in this situation trying to build a team this way. And it, obviously starting in this 0 running back role too, is kind of a unique spot for me too, because I really haven't leaned into a 0 running back situation. But I am excited to show how I think I should build this team out. We've got guys like Josh Jacobs, Cam Scatterbo that are going to be available or potentially available. David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Bashal Tutin, Judkins, guys like that. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, is ending up taking one of those guys or a couple of those guys and see what ends up playing out for me, see how favorable the situation can be for myself. And this guy's going to probably take David Montgomery because or Josh Jacobs. Great. I'm fine with taking Montgomery. He's got a week 16 stack with Devonta Smith. I feel happy about that. Now I've got David Montgomery to slot in. I feel a little bad about not taking Luther Burden. I probably should have done that, but that's okay. We'll catch up at receiver. There's still some cheat codes out there that I really, really like that I can take later on. I've already started receiver heavy. I'm happy with the way that my team's going to end up looking. The guy that I like in this spot, and maybe this isn't necessarily ADP value, but I can see it maybe working out in the future, is Bashal Tutin. And I want to be aggressive about him. But man, this is tough. Yeah, I like Tutin in this spot because I think that I got behind the 8 ball and I want a guy that I think can go absolutely nuclear this year at running back. I think David Montgomery has a very solid floor for my team. So I'm pretty happy with him being like the guy that's just going to kind of slot in as like running back 15 on the season or something. Even if he gets that elite role that I've kind of talked about on X so far. But the way that I really see it playing out is, can Bashal Tutin be a top 10 running back if everything breaks right for him? And I want to get Jaguars exposure. I mean, and this is an easy way to get it. So when I come back, the great thing is that you can kind of double up on Jaguars, get a Parker Washington. I'll have access to Jalen Hurts to get that Devonta Hurts stack. I haven't drafted Jalen Hurts yet. Not a huge, actually like a very huge fan of him for this season. But I do think it can work out. And then, if I try to do the week 17 thing with Jalen Hurts, I also have opportunities to get Ricky Pearsall later, George Kittle, players like that. I can make my team sound really nice. It isn't fun to see Jalen Hurts up against Houston defense in week 16. So I'm going to be very cognizant of who I get on my team outside of that to make this all work out. And if Joe Burrow makes it back to me, more power to me too on that situation. Um, I am okay with taking shots on. I mean, if Burrow comes back to me, I'm very much okay with taking Joe Burrow in that situation. The tool is liking Jaden Daniels as well. He has a week 17 stack. Okay, he's taken his week 17. He had a week 17 stack with my team, and there's plenty of options with stacking him up with a Chigo Conquo later, or maybe Stephon Diggs. There's basically just opportunities across the board. If you guys have questions in the chat, I don't know who's actually watching, how many people there are, but if you have questions in the chat, feel free, reach out. I'm here to answer questions while I end up drafting. It's fun to do this whole thing and showcase what my thoughts are live while I'm doing this draft. This isn't the time of year that I like to draft the most. The time I like to draft the most is going to be probably in about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something in that range, where I'll just probably be hammering as many as physically possible, which will just come down to my own like bandwidth of how many I can do. um, but yeah, I really think that there's opportunities to take advantage of this whole situation. And now I've been kind of boxed into not taking any of those running backs, and I'm not really into this whole running back world. I kind of like Ramondre, but the guy that I'm going to lean into here, especially past ADP, is Parker Washington. And now I have two potential stack options with Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts. I don't expect both of them to go. It's possible they do, but I don't expect both of them to go between my pick and my next pick. So I do have that stack opportunity. The tool is going to tell me to take Jalen Hurts. And this guy ended up taking Caleb Williams. Great, good for him. I'm going to be a little bit light at running back again, which I don't necessarily like. But there's a few players that I like that go at my next turn that are going to give me opportunities to really make this into a nice team. And I'm going to take Jalen Hurts to get my stack. It's pushing Tony Pollard only because there's just not very many running backs left, and the tool knows what my running back room is probably going to look like. I'm going to let this kind of run down. But like my next pick is going to be in this 94-ish range, and you can see the type of running backs that are available. We're getting into J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Brooks, Kenny Gainwell, like that range of player. And yeah, that's just like less certain for the team. So it's not the best way to build. I also don't like. I don't recommend when you take an elite tight end. I don't necessarily recommend trying to go like too elite at quarterback. And I think this might be where I draw the line of elite quarterback, elite quote unquote quarterback, which is like probably by round 7 taking one. I think round 8, 9, that's kind of like the secondary pocket that's available to us. But I'm just thanks for the question. No questions. All right, good. No problem, Jason Wright, 25. So when I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my screen and thinking through like how did I build this team? What was the right call? What was not the right call? I don't really love the fact that I took Jalen Hurts and taking Brock Bowers. I'm not usually going to go elite on both, but there are some situations where I think it can make sense. I got Bowers past ADP. I got Jalen Hurts past ADP. The problem is that you're kind of foregoing running back and building out a strong room there. If I was going to kind of do this over again, maybe I would have skipped Parker Washington and just taken another running back so that I would go lighter on receiver because I think that there's a big receiver pocket. The problem is that I really and you know like what's the if you really think about it and you think that Josh Downs ends up getting this very strong role that he could be getting this year, playing in 2 wide receiver sets, having a route share that's very high comparative to what he's done in the past. In that situation, what's the difference between him and Parker Washington? I know that might be trivial, but that's kind of the way that this all plays out. There's a big tier of players, and you just kind of have a preference of I want Parker Washington now, or I want Josh Downs later, and it's just about the opportunity you may see with that individual player during that period of time. Yeah, so the tool is definitely going to push me into taking a Rico Dowdle type. Um, Trevor Lawrence might be an option for me. Josh Downs, guys like that. Um, I don't know if this middle guy here, like, what does he have? He has Burrow and Caleb Williams, so he's not going to take quarterback. This guy's live to take a quarterback, so I think that I would have to take Trevor Lawrence first, but then I might lose out on Rico Dowdle, and I don't necessarily need Lawrence. So I think I'm going to prioritize Rico Dowdle if he is available when I pick. But this guy's probably going to take a running back because he only has one, unless for some reason he just decides, you know what, I don't really want a running back right now. Then you think about like the tight. Oh, and he took Trevor Lawrence. Great. Um, and that gives me Rico Dowdle past ADP. I've talked about Rico Dowdle a lot. He is going to play that lead early back role for the Steelers this season, and I'm pretty in on that. I think that's a really strong perspective role for him. I think there's an opportunity for him to exceed expectations there in this Mike McCarthy offense. It doesn't mean he won't play any pass catching role, but we know how Jaylen Warren is in that role in terms of pass protection. He's always been one of the best pass protection running backs. And then like going beyond pass protection, so this is where it gets hard because I really like Josh Downs. Ricky Pearsall is this Week 17 stack for myself, and now it isn't as hard because I have Ricky Pearsall, and the tool is recommending Michael Pittman. That's because I have Rico Dowdle, and then Pearsall is a Week 8 bye, which doesn't, there's not anything necessarily stopping me from that. I think my like rankings in the background don't really like Pearsall as much, but I'm going to take him anyway to get that full game stack that I have now. So I've got my Week 17 game stack with Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, and Ricky Pearsall. And what kind of options do I have here when it comes to QB2? I don't necessarily have a stack built out. I do have Houston, so there's opportunities for me to lean into kind of like a team stack for Houston, a CJ Stroud and Jaden Higgins potential opportunity. There's Baker Mayfield that will be available potentially in my next pick. Could take Wandale. It's gonna be it's gonna be close. A guy that I would really like to take if he is available to me is Kenny Gainwell. I'm on record saying that I think that he could end up being the RB1 for that team eventually, and take the hot hand. The reports have been that the team is going to lean into a hot hand approach at running back and have a 1A, 1B. 1A, 1Bs don't necessarily work out. So I do think that there's this hot hand situation that might play out. And part of me feels like that could easily be Bucky Irving that wins that. So very excited about that. Again, if you have comments, if you have questions as I'm drafting, I am paying attention, trying to go back and forth, reviewing what other people are asking. If you have any comments, if you just want to say thank you for whatever reason, feel free to do that. I am super deep in the weeds on all the notes that are going on throughout the off season. I do have some programming that I'm going to plug for myself. So later this week, I'll be on with John Sarabian. Hopefully I'm saying that. That'll be on Friday. I'm going to do a best ball draft with him. Next week, I believe I have Theo Greminger that I'm going to be on his podcast with RotoWire. And I have Matt Harmon, who I'm really excited to be with as well on the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast podcast, which I think is honestly just flattering, a unique opportunity for myself, something that I honestly never thought that I would have the chance to do. Excited to do that one. And am I just going to lean into these like heavier running backs, like a Jordan Mason type? Yeah, I am. I need it. I need a Jordan Mason type on my team because I kind of forewent running backs earlier. And I think you guys all saw the reports. Now I'm going to have 4 running backs, and they're all going to have different bye weeks. You guys probably saw the reports that I put out about what Jordan Mason's role might end up being this season. I'm going to expect his ADP to rise up. But Matt Collar, one of the Vikings insiders, actually said that he expects that Jordan Mason is going to be in that primary rushing role Uncertain what's going to happen on third downs. I mean, I would kind of doubt that it would end up being Jordan Mason, but you never know. Players do, like we did. We saw a situation where uh, we didn't think that a guy like, I'm going to go with Tyler Shuck actually here, um, because I'll have some other opportunities to do like a Jawan Johnson or something later on, and I didn't want to get stuck with uh, not having that QB2. And I'm okay. I've talked about this for my strategy, and I'm totally okay with just having two quarterbacks if I spend early on a quarterback. So I primarily think that Jalen Hurts is going, like in this situation, the way that I drafted, Jalen Hurts is going to be my primary quarterback, and I'm expecting him to do a lot for this team. Okay, so if I'm expecting him to do a lot for this team, I'm totally fine taking only two quarterbacks as long as I've taken another quarterback by probably around the Shuck range, because that's kind of where I see a big drop off. And if I get somebody past the Shuck range and I'm starting to lean into like Cam Ward, CJ Stroud type of players, that's when I'm kind of thinking I need three instead of the two that I necessarily started with. I'm a little bit light at receiver, right? But I did take Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith early, so that kind of makes me feel like I spent enough draft capital on that position early. And you should, I mean, if you're taking guys in the first and third rounds, you should be thinking like this guy's going to hit my lineup most weeks. So playing this out in my best case scenario, um, those two guys are always there, and I'm just finding my third guy that needs to slot in there on a weekly basis between Parker Washington, Ricky Pearsall. There's other guys that are going to come into play very soon. I would like to you know, put Dallas Goedert in my queue. The guys between me have tight ends already. I don't know what they spent. They spent Travis Kelce tight end and Colston Loveland. I could see this guy not really do anything at tight end, but the other guy is totally alive to take Dallas Goedert if he makes it past me. And I like that I took that fourth running back quite a bit because I ended up in a spot where uh, if I didn't take that fourth running back, now I'd be looking at as my RB3 at Keaton Mitchell, Woody Marks types of players. And I took my fair share of Keaton Mitchell early, and now he's a lot more expensive. And I just think that I'm less into Keaton Mitchell. I'll just put that out there than I think most are. Um, I do think that if I get lucky here, there could be okay. So Diggs went, and that was one that I was really, really into. That's okay. I'm gonna take Dallas Goedert here. That's not a question. The question that I see here behind that is, well, do I need the second stack? Okay, I took Omar Cooper. Actually, the tool told me to take Omar Cooper. I'm going to push Dallas Goedert. I don't. This is a tough situation, but I just thought about how my second stack needs to be Juwan Johnson because I don't have Olave or don't have Olave and I don't have Jordan Tyson. So I kind of think that my second tight end needs to be Juwan Johnson later on, and he got taken from me. So now I can just take Dallas Goedert here and be totally happy with it. There we go. So I ended up getting both players. And it looks like I probably won't end up in a spot where I have a stack with Tyler Shuck, which is really, really annoying. But there are opportunities with the Geno now that I've opened up, with the Fernando Mendoza that I have opened up. And if I am in a spot where I don't end up with two stacked quarterbacks, sometimes I will. And in this situation, remember, I was talking about the fact that I only have, I'm okay with just taking two quarterbacks. But now that I'm going to have no stack with, that I have no stack with Tyler Shuck, I'm more okay with taking a guy like Fernando Mendoza for a stack later or Geno Smith for a stack later, just to help me like inch my way towards what I think my team needs. And now that I have Brock Bowers and Dallas Goedert at tight end, I don't even need a tight end anymore. I'm going to turn that off completely from my purview. and sit here in a spot where I think there's a ton of wide receivers that I actually like in these ranges. I'm probably only going to take one more running back uh, and lean. And I won't necessarily 100% commit to that, but I will probably lean into taking another quarterback like a Fernando Mendoza, who will probably continually fall as people start hearing news about him not necessarily having a guaranteed role. Um, I do have the opportunity to take. I think Naylor's already gone. Actually, let me see. Yeah, he's gone, and Trey Tucker just went. So I can't like double stack, but I can get the Brock Bowers Fernando Mendoza thing. Nope, Mendoza's gone too. Maybe people are listening to this and they're trying to snipe me. Who knows? Okay, now there's opportunities with Denzel Boston. I do like taking some of these rookies because I think a guy like Boston could surprise us, especially later in the season. Because I expect him to be involved in a two down role, or sorry, two wide receiver role, um, because he plays the outside receiver role. Like, and they've basically said as much so far that they want him to play in that outside receiver role. So I'm excited to take him and put him on this team. And I actually like Tank Bigsby too. If he nope taken, I probably shouldn't even talk because I feel like when I talk, guys just fly off the boards. I do like Denzel Boston. He's going to be a good pick if he lasts to me. These guys have 5 receivers, 6. This guy took Mac Jones. Hopefully this draft doesn't get taken out because of that. Yeah, Boston would be a great pick for me. This guy has 6 receivers. He has 6 receivers. I'm hoping that these guys are less interested in receivers at this point in time, given that. But we'll see. And Boston makes it to me really far past his ADP. I'm very excited about that. No bye week concerns. I'm not a huge bye week bro by any means anyway, but I am interested in making sure that I don't have those issues at all throughout. And now what I'm setting myself up for is a situation where I can maybe land a Geno Smith later, if people, you know, don't snipe me on that as well. But I do have my 2 quarterbacks, so it's not like something that I absolutely need. So I feel like I'm sitting pretty here a little bit while I kind of figure out the rest of my room. I do like Brian Robinson. I'd be happy to take him here as well. There are situations where I could see myself, I kind of don't mind taking Dazon Stribling and just kind of doubling up at that San Francisco wide receiver room. They don't play the same role. Ricky Pearsall won't play in the slot. Um, and now I've kind of like stacked up all these rookies here, just taking like high variance players who I actually think so. Denzel Boston, I expect him to contribute right away this season. Dazon Stribling, I could see a situation where he's not contributing immediately. But the recent report from Grant Cohen was that he will probably play a lot at the beginning too. And Omar Cooper, I could see him not playing in 2 wide receiver sets to start, just given the history with AD Mitchell, and what could end up transpiring there. So we'll see what ends up happening between all of that. But I do think that doubling up at this San Fran wide receiver situation could guarantee me like some strong like ping pong weeks where I'm getting 1 week where one guy goes off, another week where a guy goes off, just kind of switching back and forth between those players, and that's exciting to me. That is something that I'm interested in as I continually build out my teams, trying to make sure that I have the opportunity to uh, like basically double stack without having the quarterback. I think that's a really good strategy whenever you're building out teams. Now, as I look into Geno Smith, they play Minnesota week 17, so I already have the game stack there with Mason as a bring back. That would be a situation where maybe Mason gets a bunch of goal line carries, scores some touchdowns, and then Geno Smith and Omar Cooper are playing catch up and just going absolutely nuclear at the end of the game in garbage time. There's no guarantee that I end up landing Geno, as these guys have 2 quarterbacks, and sometimes those guys, Lamar and Trevor, like I don't think that he needs another one. This guy's Mahomes and Love. I could see him taking one. Um, Yeah, I think there's opportunity for me to capitalize on having a third quarterback in this specific situation with Gino, getting him past ADP. So again, garnering pretty strong value. And Marshawn Lloyd is a guy that I am somewhat interested in, especially when you're talking about late running back picks. Thinking that he has the opportunity to get a really strong role for this team. I'm probably going to end up going with, you know, 5 running backs here, maybe 6. I'm going to be opportunistic between the running backs and quarterbacks that are and the receivers within my next 2 picks here. Um, I actually don't think that Ray Davis is a terrible one either. When I look deeper into him and what he could potentially be for the Buffalo Bills, I see him as kind of that um, backup, pretty much like handcuff role that I'm kind of seeing right now. The only thing is that I think there's like a 2% chance. This is crazy. This will sound crazy to most people, but I think there's a 2% chance or maybe 5% chance that Marshawn Lloyd somehow just ends up with the role for the Packers. What I mean by that is like splitting work greater than 50% of the role. And I know that's probably a hot take, but Jacobs was pretty inefficient last year. This team is looking for more explosive plays. They're tearing the offense down to the studs, is what they've said. And if Marshawn Lloyd is healthy, I could see them. One, I think he's going to play a complementary role, whether he's if he's healthy in general. Later in the season, is there a situation where their offense has been struggling a little bit, getting anything generated on the ground, and they say, let's give this guy 10 carries and like 4 targets a game. I could see that happening. And that's pretty strong upside for a round 17 pick. If this guy makes if we make it through training camp and Marshawn Lloyd is healthy, he will definitely not be going in round 17. He will be going in round 14. He'll be going next to guys like Tank Bigsby, maybe above them. Isaac Pacheco, guys like that. That's where I see him going if he stays healthy. I don't want Tank Dell, even though the algo likes him. Some of it's baked in with like value. If there's other running backs that I'm targeting in this specific situation, I think that there's, let's see, Emmett Johnson, not totally in on him. Jalen Knowles kind of interesting because he has like a 3-week situation of stacking with my teams. Elijah Surratt, not interested in him at the moment. Sometimes these rookies, I think we get a little bit too high on. Rashad Bateman, 3 weeks of stacking. That is something that I'm interested in the last round. I do think that he has a role. I think he's their wide receiver too to start the season. As long as they don't end up signing Stephon Diggs, which I think Diggs is probably going to be a commander within the next 2 weeks. So leaning into Rashad Bateman, who I think of as a guy who can fill in some weeks for me at the beginning of the season while Omar Cooper is getting up to speed, while Deshaun Stribling's getting up to speed, while Denzel Boston, maybe he's at a 70% route share at the beginning of the season and he gets up to 80 or 90% by the end of the season. That's what I'm looking for my team, is a way to generate enough for my team to get by in the meantime while I'm just waiting for these rookies to hit at the end of the season. And I think I started a little bit wide receiver heavy, and then I leaned into running backs, and now the tool really likes taking receivers. And I think Rashad Bateman is the way that I'm going to lean here at the end with this pick. Good bring back weeks for me with Rashad Bateman, and I'm happy with that. So I got 2 stacks. We're going to let the tool give me my grade here at the end too. But I did get 2 stacks throughout this whole thing. The 2 stacks were, and see, I got an A grade. It gives me a 2nd out of 12 in my pod. Let's see, team 9 was the number 1 team. So I'm going to move this tool a little bit now that we don't really need it. Team 9 was the number 1 team. I'm going to move it back. And that would be this guy. Got CeeDee Lamb, Chase Brown, Malik Neighbors. Not into Malik Neighbors right now. Javonte, DeAndre Swift. So he kind of went with like he got the Dak and CeeDee Lamb team, which is awesome. And then he got the like one of the guys that could be like an elite tight end. Uh, he got 3 running backs, so he was kind of later on receivers. Godwin's a good one to like fill in if you're looking for that wide receiver 3. I don't love it because he's taking on too much risk with Malik Neighbors at the early part of the season, and then he's just backfilling with some receivers here. I'm not actually as into his team as I thought that the algorithm is. He is really strong at running back. Having Dak and Tyler Warren, those are great things too. So I actually would give myself a top grade. Maybe not the number one, but something similar to that. Tool didn't really like me taking Geno Smith. It didn't really like me taking Tyler Shuck. That's okay. But it did really like some of these picks like Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts. Those were good values. Dallas Goedert was a great value as well. And then at the end, you're going to get your C's. C is average, B is above average, so that's okay. I got an A for this team. We can review it, but let me move all of this. I'm going to get it all out of the way. So this is my quarterback room. We've got Jalen Hurts stacked up with Devonta Smith with the Week 17 bring back. Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert with the Week 17 bring back with Ricky Pearsall. Got Tyler Shuck on his own. Naked Tyler Shuck. What else would you want whenever you're, it's midnight and you're in your bedroom? You want a naked Tyler Shuck. And then you've got Geno Smith with Omar Cooper and some bringbacks on that as well. So excited. It's a good team. We'll be back soon.